Welcome to the Natural Edge Tri-Set, the podcast designed for those who refuse to settle for just good enough. We're hitting this session in 3 back-to-back blocks to sharpen your performance from the inside out. Are you ready to level up?
Welcome back to Natural Edge Tri-Sets, where we break things down into fuel, focus, and finish. This is where good physiques stop and great ones are built. And today we're starting with something that can make or break your next prep, your improvement season. Not off season, not time off. This is where the real work happens. In this segment, Kasie's Classroom, Kasie dives into how to maximize this phase, from nutrition strategies to mindset shifts, and why the best physiques are built long before prep ever begins. Because whether you're a seasoned pro or just getting started, we're all still learning, refining, and growing every single season. Let's get into it. Take it away, Kasie.
Do you treat your off season as important as you do your prep? If prep started tomorrow, would any of the habits you're doing today change? Are you really in an improvement season, or are you just taking a break from structure? Well, today we're going to talk about it. Thanks for joining the Natural Edge. Here's an episode of Kasie's Classroom. Let's get into it. Hello, all you lovely people. We are going to be talking about the off season, or as I like to refer to it as improvement season discipline. If you think about it, the improvement season is where the shows are really won. So today we're going to go over some myths and how to get the most out of your improvement season, where the shows are actually won. Some common misconceptions are you have to go on this extreme bulk. This is not true. Going on a bulk, a lot of people think that you need to gain, all this fat that comes along with it. That is not true. This, in the long run, just makes prep a lot more difficult. You have to spend a lot more time cutting the fat. And when you're making those gains, you don't necessarily know how much of that is muscle. The off season. I don't like to refer to it as an off season. This is where you make your improvements. We all know once you get into a prep, it's really about shedding the fat and maintaining the muscle. In the improvement season, that's where you take the feedback from the judges and you improve what needs to be improved, right? So if you're going on a crazy bulk, you're not tracking your workouts, you're not tracking your macros and your meals and using it as an off season, then what improvements are you actually making? This leads me to my next point. Sloppy off seasons to a longer and much harder prep for any competitor. And I broke this down into 3 pillars. Training. Training in the improvement season is very different from training in a prep. You might have different exercises because you're targeting different muscles. I know for a lot of bikini competitors, we need to grow our glutes, and a lot of wellness competitors, we need lower body dominance. When it comes to training in the improvement season rather than in a prep, we're really training for progression. So it does get very different than when you're in a prep versus when you're trying to really improve your physique for the next package you're bringing to stage. Nutrition. Fueling for recovery and building muscle, right? We're making improvements. We don't have to overdo it. We don't need any drastic surpluses in our diet. There is a time and place for that, but that's also where a coach comes into play. Or even if you're self-coaching, this is where tracking comes into play. Looking at the data, see what is happening with your body, still staying consistent, just tracking everything, still keeping an eye on it, not just ignoring everything that's going on. It should still be similar to a prep, maybe less cardio and more food, but still more of the same food and simple lifestyle. Sleep is so important, especially for natural athletes. This is like a magic tool in your toolbox. This is where the growth happens, as muscles recover, your body recharges for the next training session. And setting boundaries, trying to set boundaries around social gatherings or parties or just any type of event that you're going to. Yes, you can plan around the food that will be there, or you have a birthday coming up, anything like that. If you don't want to, you can still bring your food. Refeeds in the improvement season, specifically, you don't need them as much as you think you do. And that's a whole other topic. just setting boundaries and telling people, like, I'm still working towards my goals. The mental aspect of improvement season. You will not be stage lean. You should know that going into it. I mean, I feel like a lot of us now know that in bodybuilding, you're training for that one day. So if you come out of it thinking you can stay stage lean, I think that might be a bigger issue leading into it. Maybe rethink that when you are planning on doing another show. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just think there's more healing to do before, trying to pick another show right away. Using the scale as a tool, especially if you're trying to build muscle weighs more than fat. So the scale is going to go up. We shouldn't be ignoring posing. Posing is so important. You might come up with a different routine, a different flow in your posing, and that's fine. But just don't neglect it. And trusting the process. Even if you can't see growth, it is still happening. Especially if you're doing all the things that you usually do in prep anyway. Progress pictures is huge. Even if the scale is staying the same or it's going up slightly. Once you start putting them next to each other, that's where you'll really see the difference. Because if you're always looking in the mirror, you're not going to see that every single day or even week to week. But if you look 4 or 5 weeks, there might be a huge difference. So what makes a good, successful improvement season? Feedback from the judges. That is where you should start. What did they say you need to work on for your next package for the stage? And that should kind of set the foundation, and that will kind of gauge how long it needs to be. This one's going to hurt a couple people. You don't need to be having a refeed every single weekend. Refeeds are a strategic tool that you use mostly in prep. However, it just depends on what does the data say. That's why tracking comes into play too. You don't really need it every single weekend. I'm sorry. You just don't. You should be excited to start another prep. You shouldn't go into another prep feeling defeated already or not sure if you're ready. You should be so excited and confident going into it and just excited to bring all your improvements back to the stage. You should enjoy the improvement season as much as you enjoyed your prep. You're still growing mentally and physically. Just try to enjoy it as much as you can. Once we're deep into a prep, we're going to miss the food we're eating now. We're going to miss the volume. We're going to miss, saying, I don't want to do cardio right now if you do have cardio. But like in prep, we won't have that choice. So just try to enjoy it. The best preps start with the most strategic off seasons, improvement seasons. It's the same discipline, the same goals. You're always growing and learning mentally and physically. Like I said, just try to enjoy it. And I hope you enjoyed that. There's a lot more I could go into here. We'll keep it short and simple. As always, stay natural.
That's such a powerful reminder. This phase isn't something to rush through or tolerate. It's something to lean into. One line that really stood out to me: the best preps start with the most strategic improvement seasons. And I'm curious, which part of this phase do you want to lean into harder? Comment below, we'd love to hear. For me, improvement season photos, not my favorite, but the data, invaluable, because what you build here shows up later. Now let's shift into our next segment, focus. And I'll be honest, Abigail lives this out in a way that's hard not to respect. This is what I'd call next generation discipline. She's balancing bodybuilding with what feels like a full day before most people are even awake. And just wait until you see how early that alarm goes off and how cold it was when she got started. Incredible work ethic. Even more impressive composure. Take a look. Here's Abigail.
Hello, Natural Edge fans. My name is Abigail Dudley, and my segment is the Natural Edge Next Generation. I thought I would film a day in a life and show you kind of how I balance bodybuilding amongst the million other things that I do. So come with me. I'm your host, Abigail Dudley, and welcome to the Natural Edge Next Generation. Good morning, guys. It is currently like 2:40. Not used to talking this early, but we are heading to the gym to train. That's the first thing we do. We get up and we go train. So let's go. It's ridiculous. It's so cold. It's freezing, but we're going. to the gym. Let's go.
Off. Off.
Hello. The lighting is awful and I apologize. But I'm heading back home after training. I just dropped Caden off at work. So now it's time for me to get ready to have the rest of my day and go to class. Hello everyone, we're in the car now heading to class. I go to Husson University, so where I live I have an hour commute. So we are going to hit the road, get to class. I have an exam in my first class, which is motor learning and human development. I have an exam. I'm excited for it. It's going to be easy. It's the nervous system. We got that. My second class is exercise training for health and performance. And I'm pretty sure we're doing like group work, like projects. We're designing a lot of plans. That's what that class is, like workout plans, nutrition plans, etc. So I think it's just like a classic lecture today. Hello, I am back from class. It went well. Everything's good. Had my exam, went great. Now I'm heading to job number 1 out of 2 for the day. So let's get to it. So to start my shift today, I am restocking, cleaning all of the basic gym worker things. And then I have a client. He should be here any minute now, actually. I'll be working with him. Then I can hang out at the desk, do some more cleaning if needed. Probably finish off my cardio because on prep, I am doing 90 minutes a day. Yep, that's where I'm at. So we're gonna get to that. I'll film occasionally and I will see you at job number 2. Okay, job number 1 is done. We are headed now to job number 2.
On my beat by that 911.
Need some time. Hello, I just got home from my long day, and basically all that I do once I get home is kind of like shower up, do any homework I have, and get ready for bed because I go to bed really early because my days start really early. So that was my day in the life. I hope you enjoyed following along, and I will see you next time.
Abigail is proof that success in this sport isn't about having more time. It's about how you use the time you have. That rinse and repeat consistency, that's what builds results. But what stood out to me wasn't just the schedule. It was her mindset. That calm, steady, I've got this kind of confidence. Exam, handled. Training, done. Repeat tomorrow. At one point, I caught myself doing the math like, are we sure she's operating on the same 24 hours as the rest of us? Because it feels like she found 25, maybe even 26. Now, let's move into our final segment, finish. And today, we're talking about a category that's been gaining serious momentum, wellness. It's OCB's newest category, and it's already been turning a ton of heads. In this segment, Dr. Josh Williams breaks down what a true wellness physique looks like, using a debut competitor as an example, and he highlights something that makes this division unique. It's the only category where asymmetry is actually encouraged. But with that comes nuance, especially in posing. Let's dive in. Here's Dr. Josh.
This is a true wellness physique. Lower body dominance, muscularity, clearly fitting the category. I'm Dr. Josh, and this is the Physique Report. So looking at Brooke in wellness, the first thing that really jumps out is that she absolutely fits the class. She has the lower body dominance that we want to see. She has the nice full glutes, sweeping quads, and nice hamstrings that pop in the right poses. More importantly, this isn't just lower body dominance without muscularity. There is real muscularity in the quads, hamstrings, and glutes, which matters for wellness. It's not just about shape. That shape has to be muscle. Now, if you take a look here, her front pose is very strong. She displays her quadriceps well, and she leans into the pose. And if we tack on a bit more conditioning there, you would then begin to see some of the heads of the quad. Now, as you can see here, her side pose is a real strength. Her transition into that pose is very smooth. And when she locks it in, you can clearly see the fullness of the glute along with her quads and hamstrings. In her back pose, she is actively pushing into her glutes and hamstrings, and you can begin to see just a little outline of her hamstring, which tells me that she knows how to present this pose. Further, she is not arching too much. I think some athletes get this pose wrong because they almost turn themselves into a tabletop, and that's not really the point. You want to arch in this pose so that we can see your back musculature and so that you can engage your glutes and hamstrings, but not so much that you are turning yourself into a J. Similarly, in this pose, she has a very appropriate suit on. In the OCB, we have updated what suits are appropriate and inappropriate, so I highly recommend you check out the OCB website for what is. Now, from a symmetry standpoint, she perfectly fits the category. In wellness, it is an asymmetrical category. So we want to see a more dominant lower body than upper body. From a muscularity standpoint, she has all the muscle you'll need in the glutes, quads, hamstrings, and your upper body is also developed. You can tell that her delts, her upper back, her lats, those things are developed too. Lastly, conditioning, that really is the next big step. So getting leaner is going to expose more of her strengths, and it could possibly expose more of her flaws. And that is exactly what needs to happen. Now, once she gets leaner, we'll be able to see a lot more of that detail in her upper back. We'll be able to see a lot more of the detail in her delts. And hopefully we'll be able to see some of the detail in her hamstrings and her glutes. And from her side poses, see a bit more detail there. Right now, we can tell that the base is strong, but we can't really fully judge what needs to grow because she needs to bring a bit more conditioning in. Once she hits sort of that middle range of the conditioning range for wellness, then we'll be able to tell, okay, you need to spend more time in the off season working on your delts, or okay, you need to spend more time in the off season working on your lower back, or you need to bring your hamstrings up. But we can't really justify saying what's what until she gets conditioned enough. Overall, this was a fantastic debut showing for Brooke, and she absolutely belongs in the wellness category. Pair that with improved conditioning, her already great stage presence, and those transitions is going to serve her well moving forward. Back to you all over at the Natural Edge desk.
One of my favorite call outs in that segment, don't overarch, it's a fine line. Understanding that line is what separates a good presentation from a fantastic one. That breakdown is so valuable, especially as wellness continues to grow. Because as exciting as a new category is, it also means there's a learning curve. And the athletes who take the time to truly understand the criteria, those are the ones who stand out the fastest. So if you're considering wellness or already competing, do yourself a favor, get familiar with the guidelines, study the look, and use resources like this to your advantage. You can find more at ocbonline.com. However, before you go there, I'll invite you to do one more thing here, and that is subscribe. New episodes for Trisets drop on Sundays, and our flagship show, OCB Natural Edge, drops on Wednesdays. That way, you're alerted each time, and hopefully, cardio just became much less boring. So that wraps up this episode of OCB Natural Edge Trisets. As you fuel your body, focus your mindset, finish with intention. We'll see you next time. Keep building your edge.